And welcome to the iWRL here at wonderful Barber Motorsports Park. I'm Austin Knight. I am joined by Tyler Maxson, and we are here ready for another wonderful multi-class racing day. Tyler, it's Barber Motorsports Park, a very fun track that both of us have driven on in real life and raced on in real life. I actually have more than 40 yards of track experience here.
Yeah, this is a very fun track, the Barber Motorsports Park is. I don't think a lot of times it's used in iRacing when it really should be. I think this is a very underrated track by a lot of people, and a lot of people really just don't quite give it the respect that it deserves. But it really is an awesome track, and we will have 4 classes of cars out here tonight. We have a little bit smaller grids than normal. We have the Porsche Cup car. We'll actually just go ahead and show you exactly what we have here. So we have GPO, GP1, GP2, and GP3. So obviously, or sorry, for those of you who don't know, the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, that is your GPO class. That is your fastest class tonight. Then the Audi RS3 LMS TCR, that's going to be the GP1 class. That is indicated by blue on the overlay. Pink is going to be your Ford Mustang, which we all know and love. And then the purple on the overlay, which is GP3. That is the beloved MX-5, which I know so many iRacers just love that car.
I certainly love that car and hate it at the exact same time. I'm more of an open-wheel guy, and there is no open-wheel rookie road car. I wish there was. Please bring Formula 2.0 into the rookie class.
Yeah.
And other new... No, I'll save that rant for later.
We have the...
Other news, I do want to talk about GP1. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but with the Porsche Cayman GT4 car coming in the next update, do you think they'll be adding that into the GP1 field?
I would assume that the Porsche Cup car will get taken out and be replaced with that, because I think that's actually, I know for a fact, that is a little bit more in line with what iWRL does. And yeah, so I would assume that they're going to be putting the Porsche GT4 car in there.
We have a question in chat. What does the black color mean on the list for the car number? Well, that's the car that we're currently spectating on. Tyler, if you want to make the screen dance different colors, we can do that right now. See, whatever car we're on, that it switches to black, and that's an indicator of what car we are on. A wonderful feature in the SDK overlay.
And it was one of the different colors. It was orange before, and when watching back the broadcast, I realized that orange and gold are not very different, especially from a long way away, so I decided to make it black because, really, you can't miss black, so you know exactly what car we are on. We just have 1 minute left in qualifying. It's currently Rue Galloway on the top. Let's find one of your current pole sitters. Here we go. Let's take a little bit of an onboard here and see what this is. On board with Daniel Sadro in the Audi TCR, and we got just about 40 seconds left in qualifying.
Now he's come up to one of the MX-5 in traffic, and the cool thing about the Audis and around this track is they're about 10 seconds separating the Audis from the MX-5. So there are 10 seconds to 20 seconds of gap in speed in these cars, which is a massive gap. And for a track like Barber, where it's in real life, it's incredibly hard to pass around, it's going to be very fun to see how these drivers are navigating through traffic. It's kind of like the last track that we were at Laguna Seca, but it's amped up a lot because Barber is so wide, but careful on those runoffs because they will bite you.
Yeah, they seriously will bite you. We'll see. No, this is the one that I need. There we go. That's what I was looking for. All right, so that is our proper onboard shot. We're going to be giving you a lot of those around the Barber Motorsports Park tonight in all the different classes and pretty much a lot of the battles. You will at least ride on board with every leader tonight at one point or another. So everyone will get to kind of experience the Barber Motorsports Park, you could say, in one form or another. But Qualifying is just now ending. We're waiting on the final drivers to finish up. We got about a minute and 20 seconds left, and then we will take you through the starting grid.
Yeah, I expect a lot. Oh. I expect a lot of onboard shots because I very appreciate the Alabama roller coasters I've named Barber when I ran here in 2013 USF 2000. The open wheels compared to your closed wheels experience or just MX-5 experience, but now that's opening up to different cars. But in sports cars and open wheels, they kind of share a few things and then don't share stuff at all. And it's a very hand over fist comparison.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been able to drive a open wheel car. You could hardly even call it an open wheel car. It's pretty much a Skip Barber car for those for an iRacing terms. It was Lucas Oil school car that I ended up driving. But
oh, those.
Yes, I drove those, and then last season I drove the MX-5, so I'm quite familiar with this place. Did the MX-5 Cup Series here, so I have driven a few laps around the Barber Motorsports Park. Few, as you can tell, I'm being very sarcastic with that. Yeah, I've driven a few laps here in the MX-5, and but never driven the Audi or the TCR car around here yet. But I have driven an iRacing, but nonetheless, grid is ready to go.
Starting up on pole for the Porsche Cup cars, it's Rye Galloway, followed by Billy Smith on the front row. They're followed by Leif Peterson, Chris Potter, Chris Pies, and Arbery Kundal at the end of the grid for the Porsches. Starting, you go.
Then it's Daniel Sadro in the Audi. Brian Zerbelski takes the Audi grid, and then I'll just go ahead and run through the Mustang grid as well. Jeff Jacobs starts on pole there, and then it's Christy Xiong, TJ Tammy, Andrew Burr. That is going to be your grid in the Mustangs.
And starting the largest grid in the field, it is going to be DJ Sandri in pole for the MX-5s with Simon Fullweather on the front spot with him. They're followed by Todd Carver, Stephen Kugari, Greg Mack, Jason Boss, Greg Brockway, Stevie Ray, Jason Meyer, and Alex Zuga at the end of the MX-5.
And that is your MX-5 field there as we take you through it. So now we're just waiting on everyone to get finished up here and get themselves onto the grid. We have a full pace lap here at Barber, so we got a pretty long time to go around this track. But it will give you a nice chance to kind of go a little bit slow and see this track and really appreciate, I think, for at least the viewers, of how much elevation change there really is. Because I think looking at this place, you really don't realize how much it goes up and down so abruptly unless you're on board for a slow lap.
Yeah, this place drops down, then it swoops back up, then drops back down. I do call it the Alabama roller coaster for a reason, because it's so fun to go around here. Also, I wish they had the bridge in iRacing with the hanging lady in there, because there are some funny sculptures around this place. I know in the forest there's this, I believe it's a 12-foot python that's slithering across the path, a public path that you walk on. And I remember during the drivers' meeting, they held it in the motorcycle museum, and we were walking across there, and I absolutely just tripped over that snake, and I saw it, and I freaked out.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we figured out with the track walk here, is that there is definitely some very interesting things in and around this racetrack. Now, I'm actually going to see, because I think that we have a scenic camera here that actually shows the spider. Let's see if I can find it here. See if I can find it. I gotta go over to my scenic group. There you go. You can see it. There is the spider itself. The very famous spider that is Charlotte's Web Corner, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Yep, that's Charlotte's Web right there. Charlotte's Web Corner is actually very funny because it's a kind of straight up running to this double apex hairpin after deep braking zone. The interesting thing about the deep braking zone, when the track hits the 2 mark, it dips. So it's a straight down dip, and a lot of cars, they like to start braking at when the elevation just goes straight down right there. The bad thing about that is you're gonna miss your braking point sometimes. I remember in the USF 2000, it was just barely before there, but so many people were using downhill that we had a lot of cars go off track in practice. Yeah, so one of the marshals actually put out a cone to where this is where you're supposed to brake.
You know it's bad whenever you have a marshal that goes out and puts a cone and tells you where you're supposed to brake. That's when you know that there is some really bad stuff going on, because the marshals should not know more than the drivers. Just saying. And
I believe one of the crew chiefs, that said, hey, this is the braking point. We should do this. But it was the marshal who brought out the cone and did that. And the field is starting right now.
Yeah, and Rue Galloway not waiting any time whatsoever. He guns it here and will kick us off for what is the third round, I believe, of the iWRL Racing League Series here at Barber Motorsports Park. We have a side-by-side down into turn number 1 in your Mustang field. It's Jacobs and Chris DeJong. DeJong was down the inside, couldn't make it work. We also have a couple guys going side-by-side in your MX-5. Wait a minute, what happened to DJ Alessandrini? Alessandrini is out. Big incident, I think, there for Alessandrini.
Yeah, massive incident for him right there. Very interesting to see that happen.
Alessandrini, and another incident here for Aubrey Caldwell, sorry. And Alessandrini actually, did not even take the start. So that was a bit of preemptive excitement there. But Alessandrini did not take the start. Cold tires on the Porsche, spins it around. Luckily, does not get into the wall. No, does not get into the wall whatsoever. So completely unharmed there. But it was a easy start then for Rue Galloway. He gets out down to a 0.7 of a second lead. So here we go, down into turn number 1. I think Austin's having just a little bit of issues there. You can see Stevie Ray off the racetrack. We have side-by-side here between Todd Carver and Simon Foreweather. Foreweather down the inside, can't make it work. But then those guys able to sort themselves out. No contact was made in the end there. But now they are still in the battle, though, for the race lead as well. Stefan Karelgi, not much farther ahead of these guys. He's only 0.3 of a second ahead of Todd Carver. These guys are incredibly close indeed.
Incredibly close. They are. Great start for these two drivers.
A great start for these two. And we'll jump back here to live pictures. Sorry about that, folks. We are now back to live pictures. So back to your race leader here, Rue Galloway. He will come through to complete lap number 2 and start his third lap here, I believe. Yes, he will. He will come around to start the third lap. It feels to me like I'm kind of confused when I'm saying, wait, lap 3. It only feels like we've done one lap. Everything has flown by here at the start for these Porsches. These guys are so incredibly quick around this place. I mean, 1 minute 26 in comparison to the Mazdas at the front are doing 1 minute 56. So we're nearly 30 seconds ahead.
That just shows you the speed between the Porsches and the Mazdas. 20-second gaps per lap. But look at Foreweather and Matt going side by side around the few final corners as they're coming into the final corner right now. But this is a great fight as they're coming down the back straight into this roller coaster S section. Going off a little bit off the track, riding up onto the curb, and then this wonderful switchback, and it gets onto the grass just a little bit, and it's so sketchy out there because it's a sharp downhill.
And that was actually what allowed Greg Mack through then on Simon Foreweather. So Foreweather went for battle for the lead to second, but look at this. Doesn't matter because Stefan Karelgi's round at the top of the hill. What's happened to him? He's gone for a spin, and Stefan Karelgi, he is now down the order, and I think that's going to put him out of the race. What an unfortunate instant. He drops a wheel in the grass, hooks it to the inside, car goes into the wall, and that MX-5 is very, very, very heavily damaged. We still have great battling, though, in your Porsche field. Sorry, Stefan Karelgi, sorry, still just dropping down through the field. That is what I was seeing there. But now we are back to live pictures with your race leader, who is pulling away just that ever so slightly. He is really starting to extend that gap.
Yeah, Galloway has been very consistent. I was watching him through practice, trying to improve my own lap time, and it just shows you on how fast he is. He's pulling off a great gap to Billy Smith II, ahead of Chris Potter, who are the 2 cars behind him. But he is still pulling away. There is drafts being affected on Smith, but he's not. Even with drafts, he's pulling away on the straights. That's how consistent Rye Galloway is.
And then we'll jump back here to your leader in TCR. This is Daniel Sadro. He currently leads by 2.2 seconds. Sorry, 2.3. Yes, 2.3 seconds over Brian Zabrowski. Then in your Mustangs, you have Jeff Jacobs here in the lead of the Mustangs by 1.6 seconds over Chris DeJong. And then back in your MX-5s, we've been keeping an eye on this. Todd Carver, though, he's got one of the biggest gaps in the field, other than the gap that Jason Bosse has on Greg Mack. Those guys have a nice gap. Then it's a 3-car battle here between Mack, Fourweather, and Stevie Ray. Those guys are very close indeed. Nearly contact then between Fourweather and Mack. That was really close, Austin.
It was a very ambitious dive heading into Charlotte's Web, but thankfully they miss each other, knocking each other off and getting caught as a 311 car looking down the inside of the 390 as they're heading into this very interesting chicane.
On board here, we'll see if he can make a move while we sit with him and see what he can do here. Is he able to get by Simon Fourweather? We're on board with Stevie Ray, and we'll see whether he can do it. It's so hard to do it in this last roller coaster section here, Austin. There's really not a place where you can get a nose in. You almost just kind of have to scare your opponent off the track if you're looking to make a move in this final section, unless you can really just shove it down the inside here. And even that's a very risky move to do, because more often than not, you're just going to slide out into the person.
These corners take so long to actually complete. That final corner, you start turning into there before the turn actually starts, and then it just carries on, and you're like, do you go on the gas? Do you go on the brake? It's very hard to get an actual concern, a grip on that last corner to even try to make a move. And it's even the same for the opening carousel of turn 2, where you start up high, then you end up down low near the very bottom of the racetrack. That is a massive amount of elevation change. Then you get shot back up into a plateau before you drop down heading into Charlotte's Web, which is probably the best overtaking spot on the track, where you can just send up the inside, as we saw happen last time. It looks like Ray also tried that, and Fourweather getting a bit ambitious on quarter exit. His back end kicked out right there, and here comes Ray. Stevie Ray looking down the inside, side by side they go. He gets onto the brakes early, very ambitious, is trying to go side by side right there, and Alex Zuga is off the track.
So replay now up on your screen here. Let's see what happened to Alex Zuga. And then we actually are going to have to jump back live here very, very quickly once we figure out, because those guys are still side by side. Little bitty spin there for him, but let's go side by side with Stevie Ray. Simon Fourweather into the wall.
Fourweather racing with Stevie Ray, bumper to bumper, nose to tail. Stevie Ray looking down the inside, Fourweather around the outside. He just chops the nose right there. That's right on board with Stevie Ray. So we're heading right there. Stevie Ray looking down the inside. And this is such a fast corner. Very little to get wrong. And nowhere Stevie Ray could go. Fourweather just closed the door on him. And unfortunately, he tripped while closing the door. And he's laying there into the wall.
So very unfortunate then for Simon Fourweather. He is now going to be out of this event. I would assume that's a lot of front end damage to that MX-5. Now, here we go. We have Jason Meyer and Alex Zuga. These guys side by side. This is a little bit deeper in to your MX-5 field here today. And you can see Jason Meyer having a little bit of connection issues with the server. And the last of your Porsches is actually already coming through these guys. That just shows how fast those Porsches really are. I mean, those guys are rolling.
Yeah, Aubrey Crondale has a little bit of front-end damage, so that must have been a very interesting start for Aubrey because they're way farther down the field than the rest of the Porsche Cup cars. So I think there may have been a incident earlier on in the race. Back up to the lead in the MX-5s with Carver and Boss having their own 1-2 battle separated from the rest of the grid. And these lapped cars, the faster classes are going to be separating this MX-5 class a lot and kind of determining how this race is definitely going to be run.
Yeah, it really will. And here you go, Greg Brockway starting to come up here on Stevie Ray. So he's starting to close that gap up, but Ray is off the racetrack and into the wall. Stevie Ray spun around.
In the roller coaster section, this is the hardest corner on this track in my experience. You want to take so much speed in there, but you just get the wheel to the grass, you go around, and then it's a small love tap into the wall. So not a lot of damage on that MX-5. Practically none on that MX-5, but he's going to be losing a lot of track time as we see the first 3 Porsche Cup cars through Charlotte's Web, and Galloway's got a big run on Smith.
Rue Galloway definitely has a nice run here on Smith. He was leading just a few moments ago. He lost the lead. Now he's trying to get it back. And now they go down the hill and by the museum. And then they'll go into one of the fastest sections on the racetrack that isn't the front straightaway.
It isn't the front straightaway, but it feels like a front straightaway. Because the speed you're carrying through these chicanes, it's flat out through that first chicane, not flat out through here. If you think it's flat out, you're a psychopath. You're going to have to lift off, or else going to end up in the grass and end up like one of the MX-5s we just saw earlier on. They have a Mustang on the exit. That's going to force them to go wide, and this is going to be playing hand over fist for Galloway, who's going down the inside, but now he's being blocked by the Mustang.
So a lot of time lost then for Rue Galloway. Carver's off the racetrack. He slides back up. Jason Bosse goes off the track to take a base of action. Well, let's get another replay then of what happened to Todd Carver. This seems to be a big troublesome area for these guys tonight. They just cannot seem to keep the car on the track.
Oh, he tapped the brakes. He tried to turn in, but the car just wouldn't respond. He may have been on the grass on that turn in. It was a very tricky turn in, but the car just wouldn't respond when he turned it in. Just had to take a trip off the grass. That re-entry, though, was very scary.
Yeah, very scary re-entry indeed. That is definitely not what he would have wanted. I mean, that almost took himself out and Jason Bosse out as well, and possibly the Mustang that was in and amongst that battle, too. So that could have been a massive incident and taken out a nice majority of your front runners here. Or really the 2 that are the front runners. It would have been inherited then back to Greg Mack, which that would have been definitely unfortunate for those guys if they had taken them. Want to be doing this early. Yeah, in these 1 hour, I wouldn't really call them endurance races or sprint races. They're just, well, regular races because, yeah, most of the stuff that we've done are both hour-long stuff. And, yeah, in this regularly linked race, they get very interesting indeed, but you definitely don't want to treat it like a 15-minute sprint race or a endurance race. You don't want to take it too easy. You just kind of want to drive your own race and be solid enough to continue on and avoid the traffic, and then in the final 15 minutes start making moves throughout the field. Certainly is what you want to be trying to do, but it sounds so easy, but it can just be so complicated to get all that correct, especially whenever you've got everything going on around you. I mean, you know, it's definitely difficult to get everything 100% correct on that one. But just trying to find some good battles here. I mean, we're obviously looking at the battle for the lead in the Porsche Cup category. Todd Carver is closing in on Jason Boss here. And he's closing up, and he may be able to make a move here in just a few minutes' time. But this is exactly what I needed to do, because as soon as I switch away, the Porsche Cup guys, they decide to get side by side.
It's the commentator's curse of, oh, let's switch around, but nothing we can do as they're coming up onto the Mustang, heading into the final corner. Here comes Galloway looking down the inside. Smith's on the preferred line now. That Mustang is going to decide this battle. It's going to be Smith ahead of Galloway, coming onto the final corner and down the front straightaway. They're going to have a drag race here in Alabama as they're heading into turn 1, drop down, headed through the carousel. And for another lap around wonderful Barber, a little bit wide for Smith. Galloway's kept it more composed to that corner. These guys are on edge right now.
Yeah, they are really pushing indeed. And I think that that's just kind of like my cue, I always say, for being a producer. As soon as I want somebody to battle, you switch off the camera. And then within 30 seconds, it works 9 times out of 10. They start going side by side again. I mean, it's like, I can basically just like, oh! Jason Meyer into the wall.
Did you cause that one?
No, I think that one was caused by connection issues.
He's just put the throttle on a little bit too early to Charlotte's Web, and he's caught in the web to be a fly on the wall. Back to the first of the Porsche Cup cars. Smith, Galloway, Potter, your top 3 as they are heading onto the roller coaster. A little bit of late turn there for Smith. Solid car just snap right as he caught grip right there. Very tricky to get. Gravy clipped the grass a little bit. A bit of a slide for Smith.
But he holds on to it well. Very nice job then from Billy Smith. These guys are still very, very close indeed. Chris Potter, he's been sitting in the background just watching these two guys get ever so close together every single passing minute. He's definitely in the prime spot, though. If these guys do collect each other and make contact, he is certainly going to be the guy who benefits from it.
Now he's in a prime seat to watch and enjoy as Smith and Galloway both taking the inside line to avoid that MX-5. Let's throw it over to the MX-5 leaders as they're flying through that fast chicane as they're about to buckle up and head into the Barber roller coaster. Drop down chicane before it's getting swinged up. Boss taking a lot of the curb right there. That upsets the car if you aren't careful. But in these, I would call it closed cockpit cars, but it's pretty much open. In these MX-5s, let's just do this. Let's say that it is kind of easy to regain control of the car.
Yeah, I mean, these MX-5s definitely are not the hardest cars to catch. Now, some of the time I've actually found that the Porsche Cup cars can actually be slightly easier. Now, I know I'm about to get completely roasted in the chat for this, but let me explain myself. I think they're actually somewhat easier because you can throttle steer them. You know, I think higher horsepower cars sometimes can be easier, but you know, who knows? The MX-5 is definitely an easy car to catch as well. Let's jump back here with the leaders in Porsche Cup, and they still haven't changed. It's still Smith from Galloway from Potter.
Now these guys following each other, not letting each other go. All the opportunities they've had to pass, either a lap car has been there, or they'll just go side by side until the following corner, like coming out of Charlotte's Web. You got that drop down chicane, and it's just impossible to pass right there. And if you do try to pass, you're forcing somebody off the track, and there's going to be a big old shouting match in either the chat or in voice chat.
Yeah, you're definitely most drivers don't ever see eye to eye when there's an incident in there. I always feel like there's somebody always sees something different than the other person does. Nobody ever can agree, okay, that was my fault there. It's always, well, you pinched me here. Oh, you did this. Oh, you did that. It's a difficult corner to get fully right. But as we round our way through the final sector here, you can see these guys are having to overlap one of the MX-5s, and they get through cleanly now. So let's ride on board here with Chris Potter. We're going to do a no commentary on board lap. We're going to give you some Apex Racing TV fan immersion here for the next lap.
And we're back live here at Barber Motorsports Park with Smith, Galloway, and Potter. As you saw on the onboard right there, Galloway and Smith come together, causing a big ruckus in the battle for the top 3. And now they have an Audi TCR car as Potter has a great run on Galloway. And this is allowing Smith to start running away in the lead coming through turn 1. Also a incident in the Porsche Cup class to Leif Peterson, who was down on his own. He had an MX-5 on his inside as he's heading into turn 1. And that MX-5 forces to go wide, riding into the grass and get a big tap into the wall right there. And he started driving into the pit lane, then reversing onto the track, but a big mistake right there. Here's the reversing. Here's the, nice 180 flick right there. 7 points for style on the re-entry, but that's going to be very disastrous for his race. But the big race on track right now is the battle for first in the GTOs. Smith, Galloway, and Potter nose to tail with each other. That little contact they had at the at this turn last lap, not really affecting them that much as they're back at it again.
This guy's right back at it again. They're not afraid to immediately get on it here and try themselves again. And for those of you who missed my whole introduction to the classes at the beginning of the broadcast, obviously yellow is your GTO class. This is your Porsche Cups. Then blue is your Audi TCR. Pink is your Mustangs, which is your GP2 class. The blues are your GP1s, by the way. And then purple is your GP3s or the MX-5s.
Yeah, they're all one class stuff, so I've just been calling them by the make and model of the car. That might change after next update, but we'll find out when that happens. And ooh, Galloway cutting the track just a little bit to avoid the MX-5, and Potter's being held up by this MX-5, and I think he gave it a little bit of a shove.
Okay, I actually want to see that because I saw the rear end of that just off to the corner of the screen, and I saw that GT3 Cup car of Potter go flying in the air. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That doesn't look like much. But whatever you're going down through there, that is scary.
That was 4 wheels off the ground right there, and he must be rubbing his back because that's going to be sore. And that's put this battle for first into a 2-way battle for first. Smith and Galloway. Potter is still there, but after that incident, he's going to be a bit slower unless this Mustang has anything to say about it as he's taking the inside line. And oh, this could be crazy. A little bit of a lockup for Galloway as Smith takes it around the outside.
Smith really kind of going for it here. These guys, they got to get through the traffic as fast as possible. This is pretty much the closest I think we've seen this Porsche Cup category in any of the races thus far. I am very impressed with the racing these three have had up front today.
I am very impressed with these two guys carving their way through this field. It's a bit chaotic at times, but Smith and Galloway have been doing a great job as we just saw Potter drop from our battle box. As you can see, the chaos is happening behind these two.
Yeah, the chaos definitely ensuing.
Good thing is they do have some clean air ahead of them to duke it out for a little bit.
Yeah, you guys will be able to see from the track map that we have up on the screen. They are highlighted in... they're highlighted in black. They have a black ring around them. Sorry, it took me just a second to find them. I wanted to make sure they were actually in black. They are just now heading onto the front straightaway. But as you can see, the next car up ahead is the green car. That is the Ford Mustang of JT Tammy. And, yeah, they have quite a bit long ways to go before they catch them.
Yeah, the colors of the dots on track correspond with their car colors, really, on track. Sometimes we'll have it on glass, but this one is a bit more colorful and more pleasing to look at.
Yeah, certainly.
In other words, pretty colors.
Yes, we have a lot of very pretty bright colors.
Ooh,
as we got side by side for the race lead. Yeah, just speaking of pretty there, this is definitely pretty in the front of your Porsche Cup category. Billy Smith still able to hang on over Rue Galloway. I mean, Galloway, if he wants this move, he's just going to have to lick the stamp and send it. Wonder who that was said by.
No, that was said by Danny Rick, or if I would have said it, I would have said full-on yeet mode for Galloway to get past Smith, because he can defend it at any point in this track and make it work. That's how locked in Smith is here at Barber, as we got a great battle in the MX-5 between Carver and Mac.
So Todd Carver back to the race lead. He lost it just about probably 10 minutes ago now, and but he's back to the race lead nonetheless, and he is getting that one all sorted out for himself up at the front, but these guys still very close indeed in the Porsche Cup category.
Yeah, here comes the Porsche Cups around the leaders. Two leaders of the classes just having a little bit of tangle with each other. And look at that.
Very close indeed. These guys not giving each other anything here.
So racing out Charlotte's Web heading into this drop down chicane. They were side by side through here last lap. A lot cleaner this lap. And I'm pretty sure for Potter, very glad that he's on all four wheels.
Yeah, I think after that excursion, you could say, through the downhill chicane.
Galloway.
Very good run for Galloway.
Galloway side by side as we're buckling up for the roll because he's not giving them any room. Looking down the inside, they're heading up the hill. They tap. And, ooh, Smith's gone a little bit off track. Galloway and Smith still side by side, heading into the foul corner. Clean track ahead of him. There's a car in the pit lane, but Galloway and Smith still side by side. Galloway on the exit trying to force out Smith, but Smith holding down to the inside. Galloway around the outside. He's going to have speed on the exit. This is definitely going to go. We're going to go 3 wide as here comes Potter. Look down the inside. Switch back on to the outside. Still side by side. Smith and Galloway heading into turn 1. They're going round and round onto the carousel now. Galloway down to the inside, and he's got him for P1. And I'm going to take a breath.
Yeah, I think your voice is going to be gone after that one, Austin. What a battle we just had there. These guys still all sort themselves out, but Rue Galloway back to the race lead, but Billy Smith back on the inside. Nothing Galloway could have done. Galloway with the traction, though. So Rue Galloway now going to be able to just slightly pull ahead, and Rue Galloway keeps his race lead.
They got the MX-5 on them in front of him, and Smith looked down to the inside, but that MX-5 was very hurting, and the MX-5 is going to be split by these two. And it's just all out chaos as the MX-5's right there, and oh no, Smith has been hit by the MX-5.
I'm not sure if he was actually hit or not. I think that was just an incredibly close call, but what an evasive maneuver then from Smith. If he was hit, then we approve. The Porsche Cup car is as much of a tank as the Audi TCR is, which can be smashed into a wall and still not have stereo damage. I would really like to know how that's possible, but nonetheless, these Porsche Cup cars, a lot stronger than the MX-5s. Let's just say that.
It looks like he does have a little bit of front right damage on his nose for that last camera shot. That might just be a detail on his paint. It was just a reflection. I am going crazy, but that was close.
Very, very, very close indeed. I mean, man, these guys, when they're going through that multi-class traffic, they're in a real hurry, but they can't let that get the best of them, really. Because right now, Rue Galloway is pulling away out in the race lead, and I think that that's what Billy Smith was most worried about.
Yeah, if you're an LMP1 driver or you like to dabble in the higher classes and the IMSA series, or, oh my drift, look at Boss right there. As Mac and Carver having a little bit of drag race here, and it looks like Carver's going to pass him as well, and they're going to go side by side. 3-way action. Carver getting sent out wide as Mac and Boss swinging on for the lead, and Greg Mack back in the lead for the MX-5s.
Yeah, Greg Mack takes over the lead once again for Esport Racer. Then it's Jason Bossy as well for Esport Racer. And then it's Todd Carver back there on his own. So the two teammates now run 1 and 2.
This is smart for Carver. If he just lets them two race, there's a slight chance that they can have an incident as we're halfway through the race, but just look at the damage that Carver has on his hood.
Yeah, you could see the damage that Carver has. Jason Bossy into the pit lane, and we'll try to get another camera shot. Yeah, you could just see a little bit of a wrinkle then on the hood for Todd Carver.
It's going to affect him aerodynamically. Maybe a bit of steering-wise we go on board with him. We can analyze that, but steering here is going to be very important, especially at that mixed up, but he does not have steering damage to my knowledge.
We'll see it right here. I don't think he does. I mean, that damage on the front nose of his car is very, very minor. Yeah, he does not have any steering damage whatsoever. So, luckily for him, he doesn't have any steering damage because the MX-5 can be quite a handful when it has steering damage. It doesn't really like to track straight when the steering is spun at 90 degrees.
And usually we'd be switching over to the battle for first in the class, but after that multi-class incident, Galloway has pulled a 2.2 second gap to Smith and Potter, and for the overall battle for P2.
We go on board here for some Apex Racing TV fan immersion.
And we're back here at Barber Motorsports Park. Galloway in the lead as Potter is heading into the pit lane. This could be a good strategy for Chris Potter to go for the undercut just beyond halfway here at Barber Motorsports Park. And I really wanted to say this earlier about his paint scheme, but that face on the back of his car is freaking me out.
I want a camera shot here. Okay. It just went away. I had the camera shot perfect. But no, it went away. We cannot see that, unfortunately. But you can see that there on his car. He's definitely got a couple of different faces. What even is that a picture of?
I believe that's an anime penguin from a show that I do not watch.
I would assume that that's what that is. I think this is an anime car. Okay. Yeah, I'll say one thing. That's definitely a first. Let's put it that way. I've never seen a car like that, but hey, props to him. He's definitely got the most creative paint. And Jabber into the pit lane. We haven't really been covering the Mustang class. They've been very spread out this race. Jeff Jacobs still leads that one. Chris DeJong, they both come into the pit lane. Andrew Burr, the last one to come in. JG Tammy overtakes him, so he'll be moved back down into 4th position. But, yeah, the Mustang class just really hasn't had all that much racing tonight. It's pretty much been a Jeff Jacobs-dominated race, and there's really just been nothing much to it. You know, he's just really controlled it.
Yeah, so for DJ Alessandri, I want to bring to your attention that the reason why he didn't take the start is he's usually not racing in the MX-5. He was in the MX-5 for practice, and he hopped out, and then I believe he just realized that you can't register for another car if you're practicing in a different car in that same session, and unfortunately, he can't hop back in for the race in the MX-5 because he didn't sign up for that.
That's very unfortunate there because DJ Alessandrini usually runs the TCR car, and he's usually so quick in that one. So we would have at least seen some, if we haven't already seen a dominated performance in TCR by Daniel Sandra, then we definitely would have seen it from DJ Alessandrini. I mean, he's just so quick in that TCR car, and it would have, just brought something new to that, that class.
Greg Mack heading into the pit lane at 36 minutes in on lap 21 here at Barber. And he's going to try to do a undercut on Todd Carver. And Carver's looking for the overcut from the two eSport Racer drivers. So interesting strategies to see here in the MX-5s. You can follow pit lanes down at the bottom bar. It'll show you their overall pit time and their in-box pit time. 23 seconds stopped in the box for Greg Mack.
So, like you said, I think it's 24 seconds stopped for Greg Mack. So he gets moving. Jason Bossy obviously come out very much ahead of Greg Mack. But Todd Carver, we'll have to see where he comes out because Jason Bosse now is heading down to the hairpin. It's going to definitely be tight between those two.
Simon Fowelder didn't take tires. He had a 14-second stop. He took fuel and go. Fowelder trying to bounce back on the grid, through the grid after a early incident. We could be seeing some strategy dominance right here.
Yeah, we really could. It just depends, though, on what they decide to do. Now Todd Carver into the pit lane. So Carver in. Let's see where he comes out in comparison to the other drivers in your MX-5.
Now, does he take a little bit of damage repair here? He's got a very comfortable lead.
It's hard to say. It really is.
Bossy is just now coming into the long final carousel. So he's going to take tires and fuel. Bossy's pit stop was 23.3 seconds. Bossy's at the final corner.
Yeah, he's got to get rolling because Bossy's definitely going to come through. Yep. Jason Bosse easily into the race lead. Todd Carver gets rolling, but he's lost it by, well, just about nearly 10 seconds. Yep, Todd Carver's actually may even come out here in third. Yes, he will. Todd Carver should come out in third because Greg Mack will have the superior speed on him. No, he will just come out in second. Barely, though.
Barely in second. So now he's going to put his faith in his cold tires and try to warm them up as fast as they can, as I just saw. I'm sorry, but the statues in the background are some of my favorite herein. I don't know if you saw those, but there are ants carrying Coca-Cola products out of Barber Motorsports Park, coming out of turn 2. If you look back there,
that is actually my favorite, and I mean utmost favorite statue at this racetrack. I know I'm gonna get some hate for that because I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, the spider is more, you know, famous and stuff like that, but I just love those ants because to me, every single time I see it, it makes me laugh at why there is giant ants carrying Coca-Cola things out of the Barber Motorsports Park. And you can see it, too. Like, they don't try to hide this stuff. I mean, it's just in plain sight. It's awesome. Oh, man, I just love it.
I love that they have that in iRacing. Sadly, the naked lady is not in here. But probably for good.
Yeah, and, yeah, with this video just got this broadcast just got demonetized.
No, it didn't.
No, but actually, no, they've actually put clothes on her now.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, they changed that
When
about.
I was there, they did it.
Yeah, they changed that. I think a few years ago. But yeah,
Good
it's yeah. Nonetheless, it's still a funny statue. I really wish that we did have that in iRacing. That's the only thing that this is lacking is the bridge with the lady hanging on it, because that's not random at all.
I remember the Europeans who were watching Sky Sports, the IndyCar broadcast. For the first time, it seemed, and Twitter exploded when they saw that. They're like, "Is no one gonna stop the race? What is this?"
And the
And
thing about it,
I had a field day. I had a field day explaining to my European friends that this is part of the track. This is a thing that the track has. Just random statues all over the place.
and the funny part to me is that it's just normal for that to be around this place. Like, they've just become so normalized throughout the circuit. This has made the circuit actually famous. Oh man, it's funny. I mean, and the lady looks real. It's a mannequin that's hanging there. It's just a mannequin that is hanging there with like a steel pole hanging off the bridge. It looks super, super real. The funny part is that I was here, okay? I did an entire day's worth of practice, so about an hour's worth of on-track time. I didn't notice that until we were on the track walk, and actually, I think you can go back and still find the interview. I actually need to go find this interview on the MX-5s. I think it's on their social media pages, but they actually, they just caught up with me like right before there, and then they pointed it out to me, and I'm like, oh, that's not creepy at all. We just have a mannequin lady hanging off the bridge. That's totally normal.
I believe when I first saw it, the bridge wasn't there when I was racing, but I was walking around the track at an IndyCar event. It was during one of the practice days. I think it was Saturday during qualifying, and just after qualifying, waiting for other stuff around the track to happen. I just randomly saw it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, I really wish that was there when I was racing, because if I probably saw that when I was racing, I would have swerved out of the way.
Oh man, the things that you think about whenever you're not in a race car, I swear. It really is. I mean, it is just the things that you think about whenever you're a spectator versus actually racing. It's funny. This is, we've definitely got a bit sidetracked with this, but I mean, I wish I had more scenic cameras. I wish
Barber
I had.
is the best track to get sidetracked on, because there's so much stuff around
There's
here.
so much stuff to talk about.
That's the point I was trying to make. Like, if you're a spectator and you've never been to a motorsports event, and if you have, you know the dead time between a few road courses events. If you were at the IndyCar Coda race last year, they jam-packed the thing with stuff, but there's about 30 minutes dead time at most between events on qualifying and practice days. Like, you can just explore the track. You'd be like, oh, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. It is my favorite track just to watch a race from.
And I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, Austin, but I actually want to make one point here. Billy Smith is into the pit lane. That was not my main point. The second thing I wanted to talk about was just the fact, we'll see it here with Jason Bossy in just a few seconds here. Actually, I actually have a better camera here. Here we go. TJ Tammy, if you look off to the left-hand side right there is actually like a full-blown like botanical gardens in there now. I mean, they have like a full garden just in the middle of the racetrack. What track has that nowadays?
No one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even joking with you. There's like a full-on path that you can walk through there that I had no clue. I mean, it's crazy to me everything that this track really has. And I mean, I'm actually kind of excited to go back there for our test in a few weeks' time for the Global MX-5 Cup, because I know we're going to have a decent amount of downtime, and I'm at least just going to get to just go and see, these giant ants and things like that. I mean, I've seen them before, but like actually get up close to them and see them again.
It's going to be very, very fun to actually get back there as well. I don't have any plans to be there currently with college going on, but when I get the free time, I'm probably gonna. There's probably gonna be on my short list. But Bunch of tracks like to add a bunch of stuff. We got Coda, the tower, and now the soccer slash rugby stadium they got in there.
They have a rugby stadium or a soccer stadium?
Yeah, they just added that in the off season. Their soccer team, which is better than my soccer team. Anyway, they play there. But I think in their opening game they did lose to us. So
Interesting. I was not aware of that. The Coda also has a zip line too, which
yes,
I think a lot of people don't realize it has, but yeah.
Coda's a very cool place to visit. They have a zip line that goes from the top of turn 1 off of a giant freaking pole all the way to the bottom of turn 1. They have go-karts, which are around a pretty nicely laid out track. They do have a own mimic turn 1 there that is 1/1000th of the height change, but it does go up a little bit.
Yeah. Now, one thing I would love to see added to Barber. This is the only thing I think the Barber's missing because, I mean, it has everything else. Why not add this too? Why don't they add a zip line that goes from, like, the museum to, like, I don't even know, to, like, the middle of the track where the lady hanging off the bridge is? Like, why don't they just add a museum that goes across the track? Because if this place couldn't get any cooler, I think that would maybe make it that much cooler.
And Sadro, the TCR leader, heading into the pits at 46 minutes in, and he's got a comfortable lead to Zavelski, who is currently 1.3 kilometers behind him, or he's got a third of the track left to go, and he's just now coming around the final corner as Ryan Galloway, their GTO leader, is coming out of the drop-down chicane and into these fast chicanes right here. You can just ride these curves forever in these cars.
And he has a very comfortable lead over Billy Smith. Here we go. Out of the pit lane, Daniel Sadro easily out in the race lead here in your TCR. We'll get an onboard lap with him next time by so that you can see what this place looks like on board with an Audi TCR car.
And your GTO leader, Ryan Galloway, is finally heading into the pits right now.
So Ryan Galloway into the pit lane. Billy Smith, this is who we need to keep an eye on. He's just now heading into the roller coaster section, so Smith is really the only one who can challenge Galloway for that race lead. Galloway, though, already into his forward pit box. It's going to be very difficult here for Smith to retake the race lead because with only 13 minutes to go, he's not going to have to take all that much service, and he's already out to the pit exit, and it's going to be a very comfortable lead by a very large margin here for Ryan Galloway.
It was a long stop for Ryan as well. It was almost an entire second longer than Billy Smith's pit stop, but the amount of time that he gained in clean air on track allowed him to stay out front of Billy Smith. So good pit stop strategy by Ryan Galloway, staying out as long as he can. And with 10 minutes left, he's got a pretty comfortable 7-second gap behind him.
And we're going right on board here with your TCR leader. It's time for some Apex Racing TV. On board lap here, TCR leader Daniel Sadro.
And we're back here at Barber Motorsports Park with 10 minutes left. Galloway leading the GTOs, Sadra leading the TCRs, Jacobs leading the Stangs, with Boss leading out the MX-5s. And all these leaders have a very comfortable gap to them after coming out of the pit lane for everyone on track.
Yeah, very comfortable pit lane here. Very comfortable gap for Rye Galloway and Billy Smith out in the front. They're 6 seconds separated between Rye and Billy, and then they've got a further 18, between Billy and Chris Potter. So large gaps indeed.
It's a very comfortable gap for everyone on track, because with the multi-class separating everyone and then everyone taking a very separate pit stop to everybody else, I don't think anyone actually had a similar pit stop or pitted on the exact same lap as their competitors. I'm trying to see a similarity for most of these cars, but no, they didn't. Nobody pitted on the exact same lap except for 3 separate cars in separate classes. 2 MX-5s did pit on 21, though.
I mean, for the most part, though, the pit lane hasn't been busy. We've had a very calm pit lane today. The closest battle right now is between... The closest battle right now, actually... I was kind of dogging on the Mustang earlier, but it's actually in your Mustang class. Wow, it's been a very long day, and English is hard. Jeff Jacobs leads your Mustangs. Chris DeJong is in second, only 1.9 seconds behind. He may have a chance to close up to Jeff Jacobs here in the end of that one, but it's still a long way to go for that one, really. I mean, 2.1 seconds, it's going to be quite the gap to close up at 8 minutes.
And it's also very hard because Jeff Jacobs has been on lock on this track, and if you look at the fastest times in the Mustangs, Jeff Jacobs is by far the only car in the 134s in the Mustang category. Simon Foweather, I said he was trying to do something different as strategy, but unfortunately that strategy has not gone well for him as he heads into his pit lane to get a extra splash of fuel.
So very unfortunate. Very unfortunate there for Simon Foweather. I mean, I would have loved to see the strategy worked for him, because he would have finished. I think he would have had a top 3 finish, maybe even a top 4. And nonetheless, it would have still been a good, decent finish for him. But now he should lose a position here to Stevie Ray, I believe.
No, he's coming out.
No, actually, no, he's coming out of the pit lane.
This could be a drag race.
No, I think he's still going to easily get that one over Stevie. The gap is definitely going to be greatly reduced. It'll be down to maybe 5 or 6 seconds. Yeah, we're looking at high 5s. But it's a very greatly reduced gap, but it's still not anything too close where those guys could possibly have a go at each other in making a move. Jeff Jacobs has lost a little bit of time here to Chris DeJong, but it's really nothing too alarming for him. He's currently still sits at 2.1 seconds and really just lost a little bit of time in the traffic there.
Yeah, traffic's going to hurt him just a little bit, but it's not going to hurt him by 2.3 seconds, which that time has just been going up and up and up and up. But he is having a great old time with a bunch of traffic ahead of him, and I'd say it's a perfect time to go on board as he carves his way through this field.
Yeah, taking on board here with Jeff Jacobs, and once again, we'll come back in a few moments' time, once we have a full onboard lap. This time we're going to go on the roof cam.
And we're back live for the World Racing League iRacing Series here at Barber Motorsports Park. 4 minutes remain here as Galloway leads out in the GTOs, followed by Sadro, Jacobs, and Boss, all of your class leaders here today. And everyone kind of in this massive pack of cars just moving through each other. I believe Galloway has a lot of cars just around him that he's trying to boss his way through.
Yeah, a lot of MX-5s he's got to go through. Obviously, he's in that Porsche Cup car. You can see the speed difference for him. It's dramatic, to say the very least. He's way faster.
Well, he's 15 seconds faster than a few of the MX-5 cars. Just going by their best lap. His best lap was a 1:25.38, which he set a few laps ago, by the way. So he's still going faster and faster and faster. But just look how crowded the minimap is with all the cars going through there. You really want to be on your toes here because look at Smith. That timer in between Galloway and Smith, it is falling down just a bit.
It is falling. I mean, it is falling a little bit, but unless Billy Smith's going to be closing in about a second and a half per lap, it's going to be very... Well, it's actually going to be nearly impossible, considering we're only going to get 2. So he's actually going to have to close in more like 2.5 seconds a lap. So,
and Galloway's in clear air now.
Yeah, and no offense to Billy Smith here, but I don't think you're really going to be closing up 2.5 seconds in dirty air whenever you're going through MX-5 traffic. That sounds like almost too big of a task considering your most laps are matching pace with the leader. I mean, it's just unrealistic. There's no way it's going to happen.
We got to fight for the lead in the Mustangs.
Side by side, yes, we do. Jacobs and DeYoung, it's door to door here. Very close indeed.
Short track racing here on a road course. They're bumping and banging right now. And Chris DeYoung takes the lead in the final 2 minutes here at Barber Motorsports Park. DeYoung came out of nowhere. I think Jeff Jacobs had a little bit of an off track, and that's allowed DeYoung to close back up to him. But that came out of nowhere.
That really did. It came out of absolutely nowhere. So Chris DeYoung, into the race lead here in the dying seconds of this event. Let's see where Rye Galloway, is out the Porsche. So he's just in the middle of the racetrack now. So he will take white flag next time by for sure. If not this time by. I'm pretty sure it's going to be next time by, though, here for Rye Galloway. We go back here to your Mustangs. This is where the battle is. Half a second separates him now. Jeff Jacobs has controlled this race all the way from the start to now. But then he's taken away by Chris DeYoung, and there is nothing that he can do about it right now in response. He is getting he's getting gapped, pretty much, by Chris DeYoung. He's getting
gapped, but he does have a field full of cars ahead of him. This is the way that Jeff Jacobs wants to play. DeYoung goes off track. He's being blocked by the MX-5 right in front of Jeff Jacobs. They both avoid contact right there as they're buckling up and ready to go. Up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster. Around the roller coaster final section here at Barber Motorsports Park. And they got an MX-5 and a lapped Mustang car ahead of him as well. The brakes are being applied from DeYoung, trying to find a clean lap around. Who's going to get the better exit? DeYoung's being blocked. He's going to have to go all the way down the inside to go 3 wide. Coming down to the front trays. We're going 4 wide. It's a Porsche coming out of nowhere. As they're going 4 wide still into turn 1. DeYoung hopping over the curb. Jacobs being held up, and he's going to get turned in the carousel. Jeff Jacobs, massive incident in the carousel.
Wow. So unfortunate he gets tagged. We'll see it once again here from a separate view. He got tagged there by TJ Tammy. A lapped car in that incident, I want to add. So Jeff Jacobs, oh, so unfortunate. Tagged and turned around. He led the majority of this race. Now he's 7 seconds behind with the race just about to come to a close. Your winner, as he rounds the final few corners, assuming that he's able to keep it under control, will be Rye Galloway. What a race he ran. Rye Galloway wins in your Porsche Cup.
And the leader of the TCR is coming down right now. Daniel Sadro dominating today for the TCRs. And Chris DeJong, final lap drama. But the American flag is going to fly for him today on the top step of the podium as he takes a very close race and a very heart-pounding finish, and probably the most exhilarating part of this race, to take the win in the Mustang category. And Jason bossing it today in the MX-5s as he takes the win.
Yeah, wonderful driving by all the drivers here today. We had such an amazing event here from the Barber Motorsports Park. I mean, we really just had some incredible performances by every single driver here today. These guys really did their stuff correct.
There was a lot of clean driving. The start was a little bit tricky, from what I heard before. Iris decided to do weird things with me, but from the replay I saw on YouTube, it was fantastic. A little bit sketchy, but it was a very fantastically clean race. And then to have that happen on the final lap, wow.
Yeah, definitely was a very, very, very close finish indeed. We just wait on a few drivers to finish up. And Austin, you have our final race results ready.
Yes, I do. It's Rye Galloway taking the win in the GTO class ahead of Billy Smith, Chris Potter, Chris Pies, Aubrey Crondell, and Leif Peterson. Your finishing results for the Porsche Cups. They're followed by the TCRs. Daniel Sadro taking the win ahead of Brian Sabelski. Chris DeJong takes the win in a heart-pounding finish in the Mustangs ahead of Jeff Jacobs, JT Tammy, and Andrew Burr actually retiring. I think Andrew Burr was the lapped car in the incident, not JT Tammy.
No, it wasn't. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was. Sorry, JT. It was not you who collected Jeff Jacobs. That actually was Andrew Burr. I am incredibly sorry. I think I clicked on the wrong driver in our live timing.
Well, I believe JT was around the same area as well, so all the Mustangs were around, just on different laps, except for Chris DeJong and Jeff Jacobs. I just noticed Andrew Burr hopped down a few laps and went directly into the pit lane. So either that was a separate incident or connected, we may never know. But the color is looking like it was Andrew Burr. But the MX-5 winner is Jason Boss, followed by Todd Carver, Greg Mack, Greg Brockway, Simon Foweather, Stevie Ray in 18th, and followed by that Alex Zuga, Jason Mayer, Steven Kagari, and I would say DJ Arasani, but he didn't even take the grid.
Yep, and that is your final finishers tonight. I am incredibly tired. I am very sorry, folks. It's been a very long day. It's been a very long day, as you can tell. But we wait for final interviews. But before we even do that, Austin, I just want to go ahead and get your final thoughts here, or well, your just kind of closing thoughts after we've just finished out that race. I mean, what a race we just had.
It was very exciting and very different from what we're used to. Laguna Seca, I was very used to that. Chaos all around, close fights for most of the race. This one, smaller grid, but just very clean, close racing. And when the pit stops came, that is something I live for. I love strategy races where strategy, clean driving make up the race. So many different varying strategies in all the leaders. You got short pit stops, you got long pit stops, you got drivers taking fuel, drivers taking fuel only, drivers taking right sides only, or all four tires. And it just made the racing here very entertaining, and it made me want to keep watching lap after lap after lap. It may not be entertaining on track, but when it did, oh my goodness, it got going. And those final few laps for the Mustangs got very crazy. Lap traffic, lapped cars, slower cars, different paces. 4 wide down the front straight. I didn't even know that was possible. Technically, it wasn't. He did go below the white line, but I'm not gonna cherry-coat that. He was in a Porsche, so they were 4 wide for about half a second. But wow.
Yeah, very good indeed. And we'll wait just a few more moments here for the drivers to get into the interview room. From the looks of it, we're not going to have any interviews here tonight. So, unfortunate as it may be, we may just not have any interviews tonight. And, yeah, like I said, we're going to give them just a few more seconds to jump in here. It's already been quite a few minutes since the race is finished. So, I think with that, we are just going to go ahead and say goodbye here from the Barber Motorsports Park. Myself, Tyler Maxson, has been in the commentary booth. Austin Knight has been alongside me. From all of us here at Apex Racing TV, we will see you next time.
But I'll tell you what, Crowder's got some breathing room.